I'm Jeff Cornwall, and this is the Entrepreneurial Mind. Today, my guest is Jordan Stone with Huckle. We'll be back to talk with him after this. Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you for having me.
So you are a Nashville native.
Yep.
Who kind of had to go out west to kind of get your traction in the technology space. Is that correct?
That's correct. I made the decision to move out there a few years ago. Yep.
All right. And so did you start Huckle when you were out there? Is that correct?
I did. I purposely moved to California knowing I was going to start Huckle. Yep.
But you had the concept in mind.
I didn't actually have the concept. I just knew that I wanted to start something in technology, and I thought that was the best place to do it.
Now, are you a tech guy by training, or?
Technically, no. Started building websites in the mid-'90s for fun as a kid.
Right.
So I have tech background, but I'm not a developer by trade.
But know enough to at least kind of?
Know enough, yes.
To be able to talk and work with the language. So.
Yes.
So you went out there and you started this company called Huckle. So talk about what Huckle is and what Huckle does.
Sure. Huckle is an iPhone app that lets you start your own live group chats with just a tweet. So it allows people with followers on Twitter to create a chat room on the fly that their Twitter followers can enter into by just clicking a link.
So right now, I assume you're dealing with people with large numbers of followers? Is that correct?
Primarily. Anyone can start a chat, but the more followers you have on Twitter, the more chatters you're going to get into your chat room.
And so what is it how does it work and what does it look like? So, just for the heck of it, let's assume I got all kinds of followers.
Yep.
So what would happen? I want to enter into a specific conversation or kind of what spurs people taking this little side train off of Twitter and getting this group going? What's something that kind of makes that happen?
So sure. So for you, using you as the example, you would go on to Huckle and you'd write a title for your chat. All you have to do is title it. Like, let's talk about entrepreneurship. And you'd hit start chat. It'd create a chat room on the fly right there for you instantly. And that would send out a link to your followers on Twitter as a tweet.
Okay.
So your Twitter followers would see, Jeff wants to talk about entrepreneurship, join chat room. They would click that link and it opens the chat on their phone and they're now in a real-time chat with you having a conversation.
And do they have to have the app themselves?
They do, but if they don't, it opens up the App Store landing page for our app and you just one-click download, one-click login with Twitter.
And so now I'm able to get into just a normal, typical kind of chat instead of sending tweets back and forth that the whole world can see. And
Yep, it's relatively private, and it also lasts for 24 hours, like a group text. So you don't have to be there the entire time. You can come back and forth in and out of the chat.
So what are people using this for? What are you finding your customers? Why do they like this?
Most of we're calling them influencers, it's celebrities, that kind of thing. They want to engage their fans. They want to talk to their actual fans. So when you tweet something, you're not really talking and having a conversation. Ours is talking with the person as opposed to at them. So we see a lot of people wanting to just talk to their fans directly.
And I would think being in Nashville, focusing on primarily assume some entertainment folks.
Yes.
That's huge because they're not making money selling songs anymore. They're having to create communities and by having loyalty, sell products. And
yes.
Are they getting it? Are they understanding what you do and how it can help them pretty quickly?
They are, yeah. I mean, with the exception of like a Periscope, which, would be a competitor, but you have to be on camera the entire time. We allow you to engage your fans by just essentially texting with them. So we're seeing a lot of success there.
So now you had to go out and raise money out in California for this, in addition to develop the technology. And talk about that process. Talk about kind of what you went through and what you learned as you were raising money.
Sure. It was an interesting process. From the start to finish, I actually found angel investors that I want to just talk to, and found their email address and cold emailed them.
Which is something that people tell you never to do, by the way.
Which, here's my opinion on that. What's the worst that could happen?
True.
I mean, if they ignore it, they ignored it.
Yeah.
If they say no, then at least they said no.
So they didn't say no.
Correct. Yeah. So I
So what was your secret? How did you get them to pay attention to you?
really, really short brevity emails, right? So going to them and knowing that you have 5 seconds. So say like 3 sentences that are going to catch their attention, and just say, give me 5 minutes. When you're walking to the bathroom after a meeting, give me the walk to the bathroom and back to pitch you.
Right.
Asking for a pitch.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so you got FaceTime with these investors.
Yes.
And talk about that process. How did that work for you?
Sure. So I kind of got lucky in being a first-time entrepreneur. I already had a product. So the product was already built, well, an MVP of it at least.
Right.
So when I showed up for the first meeting, which was the biggest meeting of my life probably, but Jason Calacanis is his name. He's at Jason on Twitter.
Right.
So I walk into the meeting, and I didn't know that at the time, but
you must have been scared to death.
I mean, I was for sure, because I'd never met with an investor.
Right.
And he's one of the top angels, on earth. And so I sat down and I had a product. So I didn't talk about the product, I showed it to him at demo. And that's what got him. Is I didn't say, oh, it's gonna do this, it's gonna do this. I showed it to him. And that's what hooked him in.
Just quietly,
Yeah, I put it up on like the TV.
Right.
I plugged my iPhone in, and I go, here's Huckle. And I showed how to use it, all that kind of stuff. And he was like, this is fantastic.
So then he, I assumed, opened the door to other angel investors, because he's the kind of guy that's often the lead on these kind of deals. And have you had venture capital money now on top of it as well, or?
We have. So Jason invited us to his incubator. So it's called the Launch Incubator.
Right.
And that gave us the opportunity to go through an incubator program. And at the end, he introduced us to all of his investor friends.
Right.
And one of them being Social Capital Partnership.
Sure.
And they are our lead investor, VC firm.
Now, what did they think about you moving back here to Nashville? Because a lot of times these guys want you nearby so they can check on you and touch you and make sure that you're doing with their money what they want you to do. How'd you convince them you could move back here?
Yeah, it's a great question. I didn't have to convince them. I just told them that I did. And they didn't care.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now I will.
I mean, that says something about you and your product at that point.
True, and I will caveat that by saying that it was for marketing purposes, because we're working with entertainers in Nashville, and there's no entertainers in San Francisco.
Right.
So that was another part of convincing it was okay too.
Yeah. Interesting. So now you're fundraising again.
Yeah.
And what are you fundraising for this time? What is this for marketing, expansion, or?
Sure. So we are raising. We're calling it our seed round. Our first round we're calling our angel round. We're raising a seed, and it is to take us to the next level. So we have built it for iPhone. We're building it for web.
Gotcha.
So for me, I want anyone to be able to access a Huckle chat. If you have an internet-connected device, you can access it. So I want to build out a web team to have where we can have Huckle on the web and have it stable, scale the technology, because we're starting to see really, really high traction, and we don't even have a back-end guy, for example. So our front-end engineers are kind of piecing together AWS and that kind of thing. So to hire a few more employees and really take it from here to here in traction.
And the question I have to ask everybody who has an app: how in the world do you monetize this?
Sure. So the short answer is we don't today.
Okay.
And we are following in the footsteps of Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. In our first few years, we won't have revenue, and to investors, they're okay with that, knowing it will come later.
So do you see revenue coming through your app, or do you see your app being a tool for a bigger platform to bring in and kind of supplement what they do, or possibly either?
I would say either for sure. Because we're really the only public chatting platform. For example, there isn't a chat room for the Super Bowl or the Oscars or the Grammys, that kind of thing. I could see partnerships forming with live events and that kind of thing where we power their chat. So that could be a potential revenue source, but I also see revenue in the application itself too.
Now, how have you been able to protect this IP? Is this something you've been able to kind of lock down to keep this space protected for you guys at this point?
Not really. And I'll just be direct with you. I don't really worry about it. Like, we don't file patents and that kind of thing, because what we do, I think it's really a race to having actual users. So if someone came in and stole what we're doing and did a better job than us, you know, that's on us.
Right.
So
it's all in the execution.
It's execution.
And believe me, that's advice I give all the time. I think too many people try too hard to protect their IP at the expense of being able to get traction and build their business. So
yeah, our NDAs, I don't even really use one. I mean, if I tell you something you're going to steal and go make your own company, and I haven't been successful while you've been going to do that, then I don't deserve to be successful.
That's a great attitude. Well, thanks for coming in, and I'd love to have you back, and because it sounds like there's going to be some exciting updates over the next couple of years.
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. Thank
you very much.
I appreciate it.